So kind of off topic, last weekend, me and my girlfriend were traveling to go to Waco, and I started telling her about this thing that I've always felt since I was a little kid, and that's that Helen Keller was a fraud, and I've always thought that. And I started
Yeah.
explaining it to her, and then she was like, "Oh my God, she is a fraud!" And so we
Yeah.
started looking up videos, and you popped up, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" So tell me what you
Yeah.
think about Helen Keller.
It's literally, if you look back at it, not from the eyes of a child when you were lied to about Helen Keller, with adult eyes, and you watch videos of Helen Keller, it is literally worse than a Mad TV sketch.
Yeah, it is so fake.
It's and to say that some like one, she has a British accent. So the story goes that she was from Alabama and she lost her hearing and sight when she was 6 months old. So, but she's like, it is not blindness. That where the fuck did she get a British accent? You know?
It is not blindness or deafness that brings me my death.
And then you just see this little grabber doing this to her hand, and she's like,
Will even tell her who you are, if she knows you, as she knows our old friend, Polly Thompson. Polly has been with Helen Keller 40 years. For nearly half of these, she has been Helen's only companion, Helen's eyes and ears upon the world. She talks with Helen by a finger system in which each letter has a sign, like this. With the outer world, with Polly, with Anne, the part-time helper, with everyone she encounters. With her hand, she reads Anne's lips. She answers with her voice. It is an unnatural voice, and it is her great sorrow. For all her years of effort, Helen has never learned to speak clearly. This isn't strange, for since she was a baby, she has not heard a word spoken, nor seen lips forming one.
and she just keeps rubbing children's faces and stuff. They had her flying an airplane.
And isn't everyone flying these days? Helen knows the scene is absurd, and her mother, brother, and Anne Sullivan consider the flight hazardous. Helen Keller herself has never feared physical action. As a child, she learned to dive into the ocean with a rope about her waist tied to a stake on the shore. She has enjoyed tobogganing, dropping down steep New England slopes. And she knows, too, that if it will serve to rouse the public interest in the capabilities of the blind, almost anything she can do to get attention will be justified. But the airplane ride itself, though pointless, thrills the onlookers. Helen is in the air for half an hour and says she feels more physical freedom than ever in her life. Only later does she learn that in this landing, she and the pilot are in genuine danger of motor failure. Helen's good humor is taxed much more than her courage. There will be scenes in which she dresses herself just to show the public that she can, and in which she sleeps to prove to the curious that she closes her eyes.
And if you have any connection whatsoever to special needs or high needs people, that isn't like a deaf and blind person doesn't learn anything really. Like not trying to be a dick, but the ability to comprehend anything goes down drastically. You don't just teach someone by doing this to talk. That's like, so there's a lot of examples of people that lose their sight and hearing at like 8, 10, 15. And it doesn't go up for them. So at most she had the comprehension of a 6-month-old. It's fucking retarded. They had her writing books about eugenics and socialism.
Critics of Helen Keller point to one notable exception in her advocacy for people with disabilities. She was once a supporter of eugenics, and now reviled school of thought that sought to improve human populations by breeding out certain traits, like, for example, certain disabilities.
That's absolutely true. She did write about eugenics.
You know that? So what they did the same thing with Stephen Hawking, which was a dummy for, I don't know how they did it, but that guy was not a real guy. So he had a disease that kills everyone within 5 years. He lived with it for 50 years and disproved God with a computer voice.
We are each free to believe what we want. And it's my view that the simplest explanation is, there is no God. No one created the universe, and no one directs our fate. This leads me to a profound realization. There is probably no heaven, and no afterlife either. We have this one life to appreciate the grand design of the universe. And for that, I am extremely grateful.
All right? So what they do is they get a mouthpiece like Helen Keller. You get an emotional hook in someone. Oh, she overcame so much. She's a true victim. Look at her smiling. She's like, and then so people have this like thing where you can't criticize someone who's like grotesquely ugly or crippled. That's why I make fun of cripples and Jews and blacks and everything, because it's a smokescreen. They use it all the time
Absolutely.
to hide little poison pills in society. So you have Stephen Hawking is like, and all he can do is this. And so because of that, not despite of that, because of that, people listen to his thoughts about God. I'm like, his brain doesn't function. You have ALS, your neurological system is not functional. Why would you listen to anyone who's like this in a wheelchair about the nature of God? They don't know the nature of shit in their pants. And he's like, God is.
Oh God. That might be our thumbnail right there.
Yeah, and Helen Keller's the same way. So someone who hasn't seen or heard anything, all she's felt is this on her hand.
Tickling, pretty much, on your palm.
So then they use that empathy like as a weapon. So people are like, "Oh, sucks to be Helen Keller." I'm like, no, fuck with her, put her in a well, you know. And it sounds like I'm being cold, but it's actually a defense mechanism for society. Because if everyone's like, "Oh, so sad," then she's like, "We need to give women the right to vote," you know, and everybody's like,
yeah, she went to Harvard. Really?
Oh, dude, it's so stupid. She wrote books. She had the mind of a sixth. And by the way, I don't think it was real at all. I think she was like an actress from England.
Oh yeah.
She had a British accent. It's like it's mind-blowingly stupid. She's like, "It's no blindness that troubles me," and you're like, okay, so the character they did is it's like, okay, you have to like overemphasize your mouth because she must have been taught, but she's British. She's a Brit. I'm glad that you see through Helen Keller. I'm an Helen Keller denier.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, kind of talking of Helen Keller, back to the kind of the victim consciousness of our current culture. It's almost like in school they taught us all of our heroes had these disabilities, or they're a racial minority group, or they have some kind of mental issue or whatever. And so now today, kind of the trans community and all these people coming out claiming victimhood is like the main. It's the way you rise to power in our system today, and it's kind of set up by all of our heroes we were taught about in school.
Dude, that's
like Helen Keller.
so funny, man. What if it was unintentional? What if somebody was trying to do a good job and like they had like a blind nephew and they're like, "It's Blind Man," you know, and everybody's like, "Oh," and then people grow up and they're like competing over who's a bigger victim. That's hilarious. Like someone's like running for Senate. It's like, "I just had a stroke."
Hi, good night, everybody. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this debate, mush two words together.
Where it's like, because I'm going to do sketches in 2 months, so I have to like come up with some of these. Where it's like, so you have two politicians facing off, and it's like, "I'm blind and I taste colors, and I'm pretty sure I'm a pedophile." And the other politician's like, "I chopped off my in a methamphetamine-fueled rage. I can't feel my feet, and I'm mentally handicapped." And everybody's like, and the other one's like, and he just starts stabbing himself in the head. And he's like, "This is how I talk to God." And someone's like, and then it shows who wins, and it's just got a knife in his head. He's like, "I woke up this morning suicidal, so I took all my pills, and now I'm here to lead you." It starts off kind of like small, and then it's like, "Well, I'm a sodomite. You know, I like to a guy in the ass because it calms my demons." And everyone's like, and then it just gets to a point where they're stabbing their own eyes out. Someone cuts off their dick, and they're like, "I'll eat my dick now. My gender is cannibal." And everybody's like, that's literally real. It's like, you got people taking DNA swabs. Like, I told you I was an oppressed minority.
Yeah. I mean, if they want the people that we put in charge of us to be these really cucked to the system types that are going to follow all these agendas, it makes sense that they've groomed us to all have victim consciousness. But I mean, you see it with the whole, like, giving minority groups preference in colleges and in jobs, and oh, we have to have every diverse group represented in our business, and it's like our whole culture is based around that now, and it's crazy.
It's in every commercial.
Oh, every single one. Yeah, it's